Okay. Well, hello everybody. This is Dan King from Fist Bump Media, and I'm excited to have you here again to check out the next webinar here in our webinar series. And this one focusing on writer strategy. Although the concepts apply really whether you're like a writer, blogger, or even a small business. But really we're focusing on how to revive a dormant blog. Here's the thing, and I personally, I'm speaking from personal experience on this too, and I know a lot of other writers, bloggers who have been really active for many years, and then maybe something happens in their life, and some kind of life change or something like that too, and then they kind of set the blog to the side and stop writing as much, right? And what happens then is over time, over a period of months, maybe even years, and in my case, it's actually been a couple of years since I've really been very active with my personal blog, which I'm going to focus on my personal blog here today. So we do some stuff regularly on the business, on the Fist Bump Media blog, but with my personal blog, it's actually been a couple of years since I've really been good and consistent. I've sprinkled a blog post here too every once in a while, but I've really been, studying and focusing on, how do I pick this thing back up? I've really gotten the itch to keep writing some more and developing content. I've self-published a book. I've traditionally published a book, and I feel like I've got some more books in me and everything too. So I really want to work on those, and part of that is just getting back into the practice of the writing and everything. So. So really, whatever your reason, if you have a blog and it's kind of fallen into a little bit of a dormant state, and you haven't really exercised it and used it much, then this is the webinar for you, okay? Because we're really going to explore how to pick that back up and do it right, so that you can really kind of re-engage your readers and really and revive is, it's absolutely the right word to revive what you're doing with your writing online. So with that, let me check out. This is what we're going to cover. We're going to run through, and like I said, I'm going to use my own personal blog because I've actually started practicing this stuff, and these are some of the things that I've been doing. Really based on my experience working with a lot of very active, big time bloggers, small bloggers, whatever. But even my own personal blogging experience, and what I've been doing to really try to revive my dormant personal blog. The first thing we're going to take a look at is really how to evaluate your overall website design. If you're trying to pick something back up, one of the things, you look at your old blog and you're probably that tired old design, man. It's just, maybe needs some work and stuff. And just even that can seem a little bit overwhelming, but I'm going to kind of point out a couple things and, even direct you to some other resources and things like that we have that might be able to help you out with that. I want to talk about social media. How can you warm up your social media followers to kind of get back into recognizing, oh yeah, this is a writer, and then they're producing content and stuff, and how do you kind of re-engage some of them, because some may have kind of lost that connection with you. How can you leverage old content for new conversations? And this is a really important aspect, because I believe that when you write blog posts, if you've been writing for any, good, decent length period of time, you may have several hundred blog posts and stuff like that sitting on your blog, and that content is actually still good, right? Unless you're running about a very specific timed event, a lot of that stuff may be evergreen, where it's just, certain ideas and concepts and things like that may apply now just as much now today as they did years ago. Sometimes they may apply more now today as they did several years ago. So we want to take a look at how you can leverage some of that old content and really use that as part of your strategy for reviving your dormant blog. And then I want to also rethink how you engage email subscribers. And this is a really important one because email is really probably one of the most important tools that you have for developing your audience and connecting with your audience, right? So I want to relook at that. There's a lot of ways that people have been using email subscribers and how they communicate and send emails and stuff like that too for many years. Some of that stuff has evolved a little bit, but I want to take a look at some data and show you a few things on what I've been doing that may help you kind of rethink how you engage. You may do things exactly the same as you've always have there in email with your email subscribers. You may want to change things up a little bit, and the change could be a good thing. So, and then last, it'll be a kind of a quick point too, just really kind of talking about how to get into a writing routine so that you can kind of not to stir this up and write a blog post or two, but just keep it going so you can continue to fuel, the content that you have on your blog, but maybe even kind of satisfy that itch that you have that probably always have had in you to write and develop the content. So the first thing, before I really kind of dive into overall design, I want to show you a little bit just from my own Google Analytics. And this is the Google Analytics from my personal blog, BibleDude.life. And you can see, and I've set this so that it's showing the weekly numbers, right? So I've set it for full weeks from the beginning of this year until through last week, and you can see a spike there happen. Okay, and what's happening is this all this time is before I started doing some of the things that I've been doing to really kind of ramp up and start my blogging again. Okay, so you can see over this time, I often have anywhere 50 to 80, sometimes around 70 sessions, and that's per week. So that's about 10 visitors per day, which is not a lot, but it's actually kind of surprising to think that I'm still getting 10 visitors per day on a blog that I haven't even really touched in a couple of years, right? And that's because all that content that I have on my blog, some of that stuff is still ranking on search engine stuff, right? I may be answering certain questions that I answered really well, that it may be a very small, not a high volume kind of search, but I may have questions out there that I've answered that are driving people to certain blog posts, right? So we'll take a look at some of that in a minute, because I want to kind of dig into that, reviving some of the old content, right? But you can see that there is some traffic. It's not a lot, but there is some traffic that's been coming to my blog, even though I haven't been doing anything. Now you can see that spike. That spike is where I started implementing a lot of these things, and for weekly traffic, some of these numbers here, you see in the mid 300s, peaking out there at about a little over 400, not massive numbers again, but not horrible either, right? Definitely a huge increase, and you can see where almost instantly, just because I started doing some of the things I've been doing, nice big spike up, right, with traffic and stuff too, and even though maybe a little bit of a dip there too, but continuing to jump up and increase here over time as I continue to do some of these things. So you kind of see that line drawing up there. And in full disclosure, to be honest, here's one of the things too, right, and I'll talk about this when I get into that last point, but the practice that I have had to help me get back more into my writing, I've lost really just recently over the last couple of weeks. And we're recording this webinar right now in the middle of the coronavirus, the whole big health crisis and stuff too. And part of my routine was to get out to a coffee shop to sit out, what I call a write night, and go write. So I haven't been able to do that in the last few weeks here. So you can see that even as it increased and start to hit a little spike there, it's even dipped back down a little bit. Now, it hasn't dropped down to the dormant levels, right? Because I continue to do some of the things that's going to drive some of the traffic and everything too as well. But there's certainly a little bit of a dip. But as I continue to try to get back into my writing and hopefully eventually get back to coffee shops so I can sit down and write at the coffee shop again and have my write nights, we'll continue to see that increase. But I fully expect that as I do these things, this spike here will continue to rise over time, right? Because I'm going to be doing a lot of things and showing you some things that are going to help me not only re-engage readers who haven't heard from me in a while, but help me to kind of gather and engage new readers and stuff too. So really important. Definitely, almost instant spike and impact right away. All right, so that first point, evaluate your overall website design. So this is one of the things I've actually been kind of playing around with the personal blog a little bit over the last couple of years, and I've restructured my blog completely, right? And one of the things I've done is I really want to try to focus just on the content. So there's a lot of ways that you can design your blog. You can create a landing page with a homepage that features you as the author, speaker, whatever it is, right? In my case, I just wanted to focus on the content, right? Yeah, I'm not so much interested in trying to build my personality profile is the big writer or anything like that or whatever too. I'm just focused on the content, right? This is something I feel strongly about writing about, so these are things that I do. But my blog for BibleDude.life, I've chunked into three main sections and categories, which is the read, pray, serve. And so you can see even on the homepage, I've created sections for here's some of the read content, right? And even links to some of the subcategories within that, kind of what read is made up of. And then I've got a section for pray with recent blog posts from the pray category with some of those same links. And then serve, same kind of thing, right? A section of blog posts dedicated to post in the serve category. And you can see even things like my about page and contact page and stuff too. Those are things I even moved down to the footer, not even in the top header bar, really, because really the big focus I want is just on the content itself. So the read, pray, serve, and then also a page for my books. And I've done this really based off of just kind of some studying of of different websites and how they're set up and everything as well too. So that I can really kind of focus on the content and try to feature the stuff in the kind of main categories and stuff like that I think people are going to want to kind of try to find it. Okay, we did a webinar, and I'll link it on the page. On the website here for this webinar. We did a webinar where we looked at the top 10 at the time, the top 10 best-selling authors, looked at each of their websites, right? And that's really good practice. That webinar itself will kind of give you some good ideas for different kinds of layouts and structures. There's a lot of ways you can really kind of structure your blog, but I'll give you some ideas and stuff, but that's one thing that I want to kind of challenge you to take a look at and do is think about how your blog is laid out and what is your focus, right? And that's the big key. What is your focus? What are you trying to develop? If you're trying to develop and feature yourself as an author, then have a homepage that features that. If you're trying to focus on the writing and stuff, then feature that, right? Kind of like I did with my blog and stuff. But you'll see too, even as I go through these pages, I want you to kind of think about how you design your blog very smartly, okay? I've designed mine so that these three categories, read, pray, and serve, each have then their own landing page, again, which features some of the content, right? So again, I've got the subcategories linked here up top. Quick description of what read is. I've got a section of recent posts, and this is not just a standard kind of like a list of your blog posts kind of thing too. I kind of played with the design a little bit too. So the first two most recent posts are one format, then underneath that I got a row of three in a different format. And then see, this is a good place too, as you're playing with design and stuff, to drop in, this is from my Amazon affiliate program, where they offer maybe different kind of target programs and stuff too. It's like, hey, feature Kindle or feature Audible, or different things that they'll have you go after, where if somebody signs up, you'll get a certain cut or percentage or fee or something like that, referral back and stuff too. So a good place to drop little ads like that too, especially if they're very relevant. These can be things like your affiliate programs, or if I wanted to put a banner ad in here for my own book, I can do that as well too. So anyway, a good place to kind of drop that kind of stuff too. And then on this category page too, not only do I have some recent blog posts, I've got the first 5 most recent blog posts, but I put a section for featured content, right? Because I might have some old content that I still want people to get exposure to, right? Maybe these are very popular posts or very meaningful posts to the types of things that I want to write about and stuff too. So I create a section in here where maybe I use a subcategory called featured in each of these categories. So I can say, give me these posts, right? And I can kind of feature some of those core blog posts there and stuff too. And then going further back, right, where I had the 5 most recent blog posts up top, then I say, okay, well, in case you missed it, here's some that go even further back beyond those 5 most recent blog posts in the read category here, right? And it's just a basic list of a few blog posts. But you can see the design is even kind of mixed up a little bit too, and really trying to drive towards the content that I want people to see, right? There's recent blog posts, and then those featured blog posts too, or those are additional content pieces that I really want people to be exposed to. So that's one of the ways, we're going to kind of use, old stuff to really kind of continue to drive traffic and engagement and stuff like that around the website. I even played with, the blog page design, and I use a theme from Elegant Themes called Divi, and if you're on our basic plus or basic hosting or better, then this is something that you actually get included in your hosting plan. But with that, we can even create custom blog page designs and stuff too. So I played around with it, and it kind of gave a top little header section too. This is where that featured image goes, a little bit about the author, the category, stuff like that, right? And the content then kind of fills down the page. One of the things I want to encourage you to do too, as you're looking at reviving a dormant blog, this blog post in particular is one that actually starts a series, right? So this is kind of a pillar post that I'm using to link to several other posts in the series. And I haven't even finished out the whole series yet. So I've got really this post plus the 2 others here that I have completed and stuff too. And as I make those live, the remaining posts, those will all be linked with the kind of cool, was a blue, green, kind of teal, whatever, kind of buttons and stuff, right? So those will all be linked, but this becomes a great kind of a cornerstone piece that's going to have a lot of search engine value, right? Because there's going to be links to, connections to posts and stuff like that too on all of these topics. And this really kind of becomes a cornerstone piece, in this case about lament, right? Which is what I want. It's got graphics on it that are tagged the right way. It's got video on it. I might even take this whole series and even turn it into an ebook on Kindle, and then I can even link to that as well too from this page. And so this page becomes really kind of the ultimate blog post resource for lament, really kind of linking to and being the foundation for all the other posts in the series that I may have. But writing a series like that is a great thing for helping you kind of get into that rhythm of writing again, right? Because this is something that I know that I've broken this out. I've already got a few posts planned, and it's all kind of along a certain theme, right? And that's also going to help kind of feed my social media for a little while and stuff too, because people will start to kind of go, oh yeah, Dan's been talking about lament for a while and stuff on social media or whatever, right? They'll start to recognize that. One other thing too, I'm going to take a look at one of these other posts because this is how I've again restructured and laid this out. So got my featured image, got my blog post content, got a video in there, and then one of the things that I've been trying to do too is I create a little template, and I just use Canva for this, but I create a little template too where maybe there's a suggested resource that I might recommend, right? So, I'm talking about perspective on the reading the book of Psalms and stuff too. And a lot of this even reminds me, and I don't even have to talk about it a whole lot, but maybe it's something I find is relevant to the conversation. It's drop in a little graphic like this, for recommended reading. Hey, this is a good book if you like this topic. And I'm talking about ancient Hebrew poetry, right? Here's a great book that kind of digs in deeper into that topic and stuff too. And again, it'd be an affiliate link that goes over to Amazon. If somebody buys the book, then I get my little percentage credit and stuff for it, or whatever. But a great way to continue to enhance, focus on that monetization piece and stuff too as well. This I know is really important to a lot of bloggers, but it could be anything. It could be a book that you're linking to. It could be your own resources, something that maybe another blog post or whatever too, but you can kind of create little graphics. It's this kind of pattern interrupt, that you can drop somewhere in the post where it feels natural and relevant and stuff too. But you can see I've really focused a lot on the structure of the blog post, my related post on the bottom, and my subscribe thing as well too, where people can actually get a free chapter from one of my books as a download PDF style and stuff too by subscribing. So I've really kind of reworked my whole layout to what I think is a really great standard format for how the blog post should look. Okay, so evaluate your overall web design. Next thing is you want to warm up your social media followers. And what I mean by that is do a couple of things, right? We talk about repurposing some old content. So before I even rewrote my first blog post, I started reintroducing, my social media family here and stuff, friends and family, to old content, and I just kind of drop a little post, say, hey, I'm dusting off the old blog, came across this classic, and share that, let's get some good engagement and stuff too, just on my personal profile, share that, but it's a good way to start leveraging some of that old content and kind of getting it back out to people and saying, you remember this, and that starts getting some of those visitors back on your blog again too, because maybe even somebody did read it a while back, that stirs something back up in them. Maybe they can kind of come back and take a glance and see some of the other related posts and kind of poke around the blog a little bit and stuff. Maybe somebody hasn't read it yet, and that's a very common thing too, that hey man, I've got a lot of new friends on social media since I originally wrote that post over the last few years. Those are people maybe didn't see the first time I really promoted that blog post. So take some old content and start dripping it out there on social media a little bit, and especially kind of tease them like, hey, come along on this journey with me. I'm dusting off that old blog, right? And I've been working on this a little bit. So the people that have known that you've done this for a while, they start to see that this is stirring back up in you again. Take them on the journey with you, right? And this is one of the other things, and it's, ironically, right? You can see I'm sitting at Starbucks for my Write Night. Write Night is back, right? You can even see the Starbucks here too that right now is temporarily closed. Wah, wah, wah. Thank you, coronavirus. But this is what I was doing. I was getting, leave the house, go sit at Starbucks for a little while, sit down and write some blog posts, write some content stuff, and share it, right? So I'm not even sharing a blog post, but I'm kind of continuing to take my social media friends and stuff like that too on a journey with me of, hey, look at me, I'm getting back out, I'm writing again, and trying to kind of gear people up and prepare them for the next blog post that starts coming. And then as you write these blog posts, you start sharing them on social media. Don't just kind of blast a blog post out, new post, again, continue to take them on the journey, right? Had me another Write Night last night. And I worked on the series on lament over on the blog. Here's the next blog post, blah, blah, blah. You make sure when you're using the social media, they're using it in a very personal sense. To kind of start resharing that content. So you can see over the course of these posts, I'm taking people on the journey with me where it's like, hey, I'm starting to write again. I'm getting back into this so that as the new content starts to get out too, it's not just a boom, oh, hey, new content. One of the other things I do too is use the social media to ask people specifically to subscribe to your blog. Email is always going to be the goal for trying to get them on your email list, ideally, right? And it's not going to be the right fit for everybody. So, don't want you to feel like, well, people just don't subscribe. They may not, right? But ultimately, that's the goal. That's going to be the best way for you to be able to connect and communicate with those subscribers, because it's a one-to-one communication. This, social media is a one-to-many communication. Email is a one-to-one communication. You can get the best results from that over time. So use social media, drop out posts and stuff too, to say, hey, go subscribe. And by the way, I'll send you this, if you have some kind of lead magnet or whatever too. So, but don't hesitate to use social media to every once in a while in your flow like this to just ask people to come subscribe, right? They don't have to come to your blog and, because they came over to read a blog post and then see subscribe. Just ask them right on social media to subscribe, right? So a great way to continue to re-engage those readers on social media. So you can see that kind of pattern, that flow for take them on the journey with you. It's not just about come read my blog post. It's about, wow, like this stuff is stirring to me. Look, I'm taking this action. I'm doing these things and stuff to try to get this back out there. And that will help people kind of connect more with you as the writer to get your content out there. Next, we're going to talk about leverage old content for new conversations. Okay. Oh, and one other thing real quick too. There are even some plugins like this one, Revive Old Post is a WordPress plugin. And this is a pretty cool plugin because it takes some of your old content and it will automatically send it to Facebook or automatically send it to Twitter. And that's the free version, does Facebook and Twitter for free. Or you can pay a pro version and maybe send it to Pinterest and LinkedIn or wherever you want, right? But it's a cool plugin because I've set this up really just with my Twitter. That say about 3 times a day, it's going to take one of the old blog posts on my blog. It's completely at random stuff, and it'll send it out, right? And I can kind of customize how it's sent a little bit and stuff too. But once I kind of create that format, it uses that format for every blog post, but it'll send it out. And I've noticed on Twitter that I've gotten some engagement from some of these posts. People retweeting these and traffic coming and stuff like that too, or people coming to check out old blog posts. But it's a great, easy way to continue to leverage some of that old content and get it back out there and re-engage with social media. But again, that leverage old content for new conversations. Let's take a look at that real quick. So this is one thing too. In my Google Analytics, if I go under behavior, site content, and all pages, and again, I've spread this out over time, and this is really that same timeline where I'm looking at this year. Okay, and what this has done is it's showing me that over the course of this year so far, which a few months in, the 3.5 months into the year, this is the traffic that each of these blog posts is getting. And what I want to look at is I want to say, man, what are the top 5, top 10 blog posts that I have? And you can see several of them here. Some are getting as many as over the course of this year, 400, 300, page views and stuff, but even some that are only getting a few, again, really most of this time it's been pretty dormant. I haven't even promoted any of these. Some of these are still getting, several views a week or a day or whatever, right? And, average time on page, look at these. I mean, a lot of these are getting really great time on page. They're spending 4.5 minutes, 7 minutes, 12 minutes on the page and stuff like that too for some of these blog posts, right? So those blog posts are showing me that they're actually getting good traffic that I'm not even trying to drive to them and stuff too. Okay, so one thing I want you to do, I'm going to take one of these blog posts like this, it's Management by God, risk management one, and I'm going to go to it. So as I do, I'm going to flip back here real quick, and you can see how my template, right? I got my featured image up here, some of the structure with, about the author and the categories and stuff too, video, I've got my little recommended reading graphic in there and stuff too that I made and added to it, stuff like that too. But then as you look at this old blog post, Let me get back to this here. Yeah, as you read the old blog post, you see it doesn't have that featured image up there. So back when I originally wrote this in 2010, 10 years ago, I dropped the graphic right in the post content like that, right? So there's no featured image on here too. So there's some things that I can do. And you can see just some basic straight text, right? And then some of the core stuff, I've got my, related content, my subscribe stuff on the bottom, a couple comments. But I need to go back and edit this post. I need to take my graphic and just take it out of the text and make it the featured image so that it shows up here up top, right? And maybe that's the image I want to use or not. Maybe I can find a better image, right? Maybe I can, break this out, into headers or something like that a little bit better too, which is good for formatting. I've got a great blog post, on the Fist Bump Media blog about how to structure your blog posts and stuff for SEO. And I'll link that in the show notes and stuff like that below here in a little bit too as well. But maybe we'll break that out a little bit too. Maybe I create one of those graphics, and maybe there's something that's good recommended reading for somebody who's reading this blog post. I create a graphic and drop that in here as well too. But certainly some ways that I can update and enhance this blog post to really help give it that better experience. Here's the deal. This is a blog post that I already know is getting some traffic, right? People are spending almost 4 minutes on the blog post already on average. Okay, some people may hit it and leave. Some people spend a little bit more time, but on average, they're spending 3:45 on the blog post. You can see it's an average time to read is 3 minutes. So the people that are getting here on average are reading the whole blog post. So if I can enhance this and make it better, right, to fit the better experience overall, then I'm going to do a lot better with that too, right? I might get more engagement, more visits around the website and stuff like that as well too. So this leveraging the old content, the idea is you don't have to go update everything on your site. Take a look at your analytics, look at your behavior, site content, all pages, look at your top 10 or so blog posts and stuff and say, how do those look now if I've changed some things up in the format? How's it structured and stuff like that too as well? Are there things in the blog post I can do to enhance it a little bit more so that it looks and feels more like the current content that I'm writing and stuff too? So you want to make that because it's an old piece of content that's already proven it's driving traffic naturally already. And if you can enhance that, right, and then maybe even reshare that on social media over time and stuff too, then that'll certainly help you kind of improve your engagement and help kind of revive some of the activity that happens with your blog. The next thing I want to dig into is rethink how you engage your email subscribers, right? And for that, I'm going to go into MailChimp. MailChimp's the tool that I use with my personal blog for managing email subscribers, and I've really taken a completely different course, right? Traditionally, you might have set up an automatic feed for your blog post. So you publish a new blog post, then MailChimp will see, new content coming. Let me send that out at 6 o'clock this morning, 7 o'clock, whatever time you set. Any day that there's new content, those blog posts automatically go out. Hopefully that's customized enough to where maybe the subject line reads what the title of the blog post is and uses that as the subject line, which is a decent method and stuff like that too as well. But I've really changed things up, right? Because here's the thing, I want to recognize, because email is the best one-to-one communication that we've got, it's not a one-to-many. Automatic RSS feed like that grabs the new post content and just sends out an automatically generated email. Maybe it's a portion of the post and click to read the full thing, or maybe you include the full post in the content or whatever in the email. Doesn't matter, right? The big thing is that's still kind of a one-to-many approach. I've tried to take a more one-to-one approach, and I've really set this up so that my emails, I do a few things with them and stuff too. I personalize it from the beginning. I can use dynamic fields and say, "Hey, Dan," All right, if I have the first name of my subscriber, I'll actually drop that in for me. And then write a little bit of a personal note, not a big one, just a couple sentences. Make it very simple, easy to read. You don't want to overwhelm people in this email, because really the ultimate goal is drive them to the blog post, right? And you can see in this one, I've shared a blog post, but I've also shared that free chapter download of one of the chapters from one of my books, right? Is part of this email, and just really simple too. And then at the bottom, I kind of close out the email just asking for that engagement. I would love to hear what thoughts you have. Feel free to leave a comment on the post, or just reply to this email if you prefer to keep your response more private. And what I found is, by taking this approach and actively asking for that engagement, I get some comments on the blog post itself, but I've got a lot of emails back from people too saying, hey, here's my thoughts, stuff, because maybe that is more comfortable than using comments on a blog and stuff. Typically bloggers leave comments on blogs. A lot of times people who don't blog and stuff, just regular people who may subscribe and follow you, maybe there's, they like the one-on-one communication, because that way they're replying back to me personally, right? And then I have an email conversation with them and stuff too. So I've really taken this approach, and this is not an automatic approach. This is something I write up this content and send this email specifically with every blog post that I write now. Okay, so I'm not writing a blog post every day. My target is to write one blog post every week, right? So I write the blog post, and then I take a couple minutes and write the email. Just kind of introduce it. Hey guys, just or not hey guys, because it's not a one to many. It's a hey you, here's what I'm thinking. I was just kind of feeling about this, and here's my blog post. Simple email. And then another one of the big elements for it too is the subject line, right? It's not just a new post from BibleDude.life, or it's not just the blog post title or anything like that too. I really try to optimize my subject line to try to optimize for clicks, right? For opens, right? Because ultimately that's going to be the big factor with an email is how many people did open this. And in this case, I had a free download in there, so I led off with that right away, plus a little bit of suspense and mystery. It's the post I wish I didn't have to write. So anyway, you see that really I've shifted to a more manual process for how I manage my email subscribers, and it's actually been working out pretty good. So. And you can see with that one too, I've got 38.3% opens, 2.4% clicks. Those numbers may seem pretty low, but industry averages and stuff like that too, they're actually not bad, right? Not bad, especially for a cold email list that I've just recently started engaging. So there's a few things you can do then with the email stuff, and even if you don't write a new blog post, you can even leverage an old blog post the same way I did on social media. It's like, wow, this one really stirred me again, and just maybe it's just updated this one. Maybe that's a good piece that I want to send back out to my email subscribers and stuff too, using this kind of approach and format. So anyway, there's a lot of things you can do to really kind of amp up big time your email strategy. But I think this is one of the biggest things that I've seen that's really shifted in my strategy to help kind of re-engage. And I've seen a nice increase in engagement coming from email over my kind of more automated approach before. So also, and this is actually pretty simple, right? So one of the things I want to point out here too is if I'm looking at campaigns, and I'm talking about rewriting individual emails every time, okay? I could come here and say, here's my last one. I can just come, boom, replicate, okay? So it's not like I have to create a new email campaign every time, but it's not quite automated either. But once I have my format set and everything for how I want to do it, I just come back and replicate the previous one. and then update and customize some of the things that I want to customize, right? So I'll change my subject line to whatever my subject line should be for this new post. I'll change my content, right? So I can edit design and change the text that's within the post and stuff too. But the same structure and format and layout is all there. That's all there too. One other tip here is with your email, really driving good open rates and click rates and things like that are really going to be crucial. And one of the things that will happen is, especially if you've gone dormant for a matter of a couple of years, you're going to have probably a whole series of I'll have it here, a whole series of emails bouncing, people unsubscribing because they're not interested anymore and stuff too. And one thing I'll say is, don't worry about that. Don't stress about that. That's going to happen. People's interests are going to change. Maybe just because, excuse me, maybe just because they haven't heard from you in so long, they just kind of lost interest. And that's not a big deal. That happens all the time. You lose interest in some people sometimes, right? So that stuff is going to happen naturally. So your list is probably going to take an initial hit and stuff too. But one of the things I like about MailChimp is that based on open rates and clicks and things like that, MailChimp will actually rate those subscribers for you and stuff too. So if somebody opens every email, clicks on every link and all that stuff too, they're going to be 5 stars, right? If somebody just, they see it and they just delete, they don't never open it or anything, they're going to be 1 star, So one of the things you can even do is as you're doing this, you can even fine tune, and it may be getting your emails out to fewer people, but really the big thing is to get it to the really engaged people. So when you go to, you can say, hey, I got my audience here. That's my list. Right now, I got it set to all subscribers in the audience, and then I can say, give me a segment. Right? I only want to send it to, and I can change the criteria here to. Where'd it go? Contact rating. Boom. Couple one down. And I'll say make it greater than 2. Okay? So that only people who are rated 3, 4, and 5 stars are actually going to get that email. 1 and 2 star rated people will not, right? So if I do that, and say update recipient count, see out of my list I got 595, so it dropped it down from 1,300 to about 600 or so. So over half my list is really not engaged with my emails, right? But 600 of them are, in this case. So I can focus on that and send them, maybe they're even special emails, right? And I know things too, like you can even do like re-engagement campaigns and stuff, and then maybe there's free content or things like that you want to do special for people who are only 1 or 2 stars, who aren't very engaged, and see if you can continue to re-engage them and stuff too. So I encourage you to play around with that too, because my strategy for re-engaging the email list too is to run a series of about half a dozen, maybe 6 to 8 emails where everybody gets it, right? And then start focusing on the higher rated people, the 3, 4, 5 stars, the people who actually click and open the emails with the regular content, but then drop everybody else 1 and 2 stars into kind of another category, maybe where I have some once a month kind of a re-engagement kind of thing and stuff too. Maybe I'm offering some kind of free download or something like that too. And if I can use that to entice those people to engage a little bit more by giving them some special treatment or something like that somehow, then I'll do that as well too. Not something you have to do, but pretty cool tools and techniques to really help you kind of zero in on, focus on your most engaged people, because really what you can do for your most engaged people is really going to continue to feed overall traffic and stuff like that on the website. Maybe there's a special campaign where you're doing special free downloads of stuff too for your most engaged people. Maybe hit your 4 and 5 star people and send them a special gift for being so engaged, right? So a few ways you can kind of play around with that too, but check that out. That's a cool way to kind of segment your readers based on the engagement levels that they have. Now, the last thing is really kind of getting into a writing routine. Now, I actually even showed you along my journey, of how I even share that with my social media followers and stuff too. But a big thing is, and this is really kind of a simple, quick point, getting into that writing routine is it's so important to set time and a schedule for you, right? Because here's the thing. Ultimately, when people lose that drive to kind of keep writing a blog, it's because life takes over. Something else has filled the time slot where your writing did take place. Okay, but I suggest sit down, kind of brainstorm a list of 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 maybe ideas about things that you're passionate about that you want to write about, right? Create that list and write it down on a pad of paper. Maybe even go into your blog and start a draft blog post that just it stays in draft mode for a little while and stuff too, with each kind of like basic kind of core idea for the title for that blog post. And don't fill anything out. Maybe if you have a couple notes you want to make in there, go ahead and make a couple notes, because you can change that when you actually write the blog post and stuff too. But do something to create that list for yourself of the things that you're passionate about, the ideas that you have that you want to write about, and then set a scheduled time. For me, till coronavirus hit and shut down my Starbucks, it's that right night. Every Wednesday night, every week, after work, I basically kicked out of the house, go sit somewhere, open up my laptop, plug in my headphones, and I just write for a few hours and stuff, right? And if you have the space in your home to do that or whatever, that's fine, but set that as a schedule. So when you have that list of the things that you're really passionate about, some of them may fade, some may continue to get even more passionate about stuff too, but as you have that list of things that you kind of start on, like, hey, these are the ideas for the things I'm going to be writing about, and you set yourself some time to just sit and focus on everything else is blocked out now so that I can write. You're putting a priority on that too, and get in that routine, right? And here's the thing with blogging and stuff too, you don't have to write a blog post every day. Some people do, and that's fantastic, right? My goal was to write one every week, and recognizing too that even sometimes things like coronavirus are going to get in the way and bump that off my schedule and stuff too. So I might have a few weeks where I may not be able to do that. Maybe I'd shift and refigure out how do I make that space again here in regular life, maybe from home, whatever. But I'll have that routine. So if I finish the year and I have 30, 40 new blog posts on my blog this year, something like that, that's a big win for me, right? So don't stress about the details and stuff too. Just make sure you set the time. Life is going to happen, but still make sure you make it a priority. So with that, I'm just going to drop it off that, right? And here's the deal. It's not that difficult to really revive a dormant blog, but you really kind of do when you want to be strategic about how you kind of start to build it back up and stuff too. And I think be patient, right? You're not going to revive an old blog and then all of a sudden, boom, blow up with thousands and thousands of traffic and stuff. You can get there, right, for sure. But take these steps to kind of get through, re-engage through social media. Think about your site design. How are you reworking old content and leveraging that, and really rethink how you're connecting with your email subscribers. Those are some of the big things. But yeah, do that, and you're right on your way to really reviving that old dormant blog of yours. And drop me a comment. Let me know if you've been doing this and trying this out. I want to hear about your success with this and stuff too. So please share that with me. Drop it in the comments in this webinar below or something like that, or send us an email. You can always hit us up, dan@fistbumpmedia.com. I'm always available and stuff too. So anyway, with that, just be safe out there. You guys have an awesome one. Boom, fist bump. See ya.